Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Screenwork Entertainment.
Today we're covering The Last of Us Episode 3, Long Time. This week's episode, we get more of an outside perspective with our new friends Bill and Frank, which I really enjoyed.
In the game, we get a very different version of Bill and Frank. So, Bill is played by Nick Offerman, and Frank is played by Murray Bartlett, which you may know him from shows like The White Lotus and Chippendales. The show takes us in a very different route. Compared to the game, for one, we never even get to see Frank, only Bill. Also, in the game, Frank does not die like what he does in the show, but instead he gets bitten and chooses to go out on his own terms. And also writes Bill a little note. In the note, he tells Bill how much he hates him. So we get a very different story about the two. However, I did like it for the most part. You get the sense that Bill and Frank got to live the life they really wanted with each other, and it was a good addition to the story.
So one thing that I was reading about is about this episode is how the director was pushing their own agenda when it comes to Bill and Frank, which I didn't really see that. I felt like the way that they did this is better for the story than what they if they would have took the scenes from the game and then added it to the show. I feel like we're getting a lot more affection, emotion, and attraction to the story the way that they did it the way that they just did it.
I honestly disagree because the way they did it this way, to me, is almost like a waste of an episode. Yeah, we get to see the life of them, which was cool, but since we're not seeing the interaction with Joel and Bill, we missed some pretty cool content that was in the game that I was really hoping to see in the show. The one thing I'm really disappointed about is we don't get to see that awesome scene from the game where Joel gets caught in a trap by Bill and is hanging upside down, shooting infected while Ellie is trying to cut him down. This is an awesome moment from the game, and I really wanted to see this part in the show, and I was really bummed it got skipped over.
Considering I didn't play the game, I wouldn't know that, but I plan on playing the game in the future. That being said, one thing I really enjoyed about the show is the fact that they are doing something different with this whole infection. They're putting a little bit of romance into the show, which you don't get in any other show about infected. I think that's original.
Actually, you're kind of incorrect there. There is a zombie show that is different, and that is kind of romantic, and that's called Warm Bodies. But for the most part, yeah, you're right.
Well, I feel like they may be adding to a genre that hasn't taken off yet, and maybe it's paving a way for future shows like this that you can add a little bit of romance into a serious situation and make it work.
For the most part, yeah, you are right. And this is kind of a new take. And even though I didn't really like how it veered away from one of my favorite parts of the game, I did like the story and how it showed us more of Bill and Frank's backstory. That was cool.
Yeah, I agree. I enjoyed it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would have liked to see a little bit more action, but I enjoyed it for what it is. Of course, you can always improve. You can always make things better, 100%. But they didn't do a bad job. We start this episode off with Joel and Ellie talking about what happened in the end of episode 2, and you can see the disdain on Joel's face for Ellie. Ellie quickly reminds him that it's not her fault, that Tess and Joel both had their own agenda. And I think that's really important for her to clarify, to put things in perspective for Joel.
Yeah, I love the throwback we got to Mortal Kombat 2. We see an arcade, and Ellie explains Melina's finishing move, that this game was one of her best friend's favorite games. Also, shortly after Ellie's looking for supplies, when Ellie finds it infected in the rubble, you almost feel sorry for him, because you can almost see like a shred of humanity, in the infected. Also, she cuts him, and all you see is the infection, nothing else. It's pretty messed up.
Yeah, 100%. Shortly after Joel tries to protect Ellie from, this mass grave, but Ellie keeps resenting Joe, and she's like, I want to go see this. And I really feel like that plays a big part on how she embraces the messed up world and how it's become, because that's all she's known since she's a kid, is just augmented reality, I guess.
Yes, agreed. Joel doesn't want her to see the mass grave, but I like how it focuses on that piece of fabric. And Joel explains that they would lead people, saying they was going to a sanctuary if they had room, that is. But if not, they would just take them out to the shed. But after that, it cuts to 2003, where we actually see the person wearing that fabric. And that really caught my eye, and that kind of threw me off because I thought that was really messed up.
This is also when we first see Bill. I really enjoyed what they did with Bill and Frank. You get to see them love. You get to see them laugh. You get to see them fight. But always, they overcome their problems together. Frank gave Bill a reason to live, a reason to fear, a reason to be human at his core. And that's what I really appreciated about him. Frank also wanted to help build some of the town back up, help pass the time together. And that was really cool because you really got to learn to love these characters in only the 30-minute time frame that you get to spend with them. And to me, that's really incredible writing.
Yes, I liked the letter he wrote to Joel about being able to protect the ones that they love. As Ellie is reading the letter, she gets to the part about Tess and stops. This is where Joel finishes the letter, and that part was pretty heartbreaking because you really see how much he cared for Tess.
I mean, you really get to see how much he cares for Tess throughout the whole episode, from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
I really feel like that sets a tone for the whole episode.
Very, very much agreed. I did watch the trailer for next episode, so spoilers ahead. Joel and Ellie, they get to the next town, and this section of the game is just action-packed. I'm really hoping the show doesn't disappoint, because thus far, it really hasn't disappointed at all. I am extremely excited to see what happens next. And honestly, I'm still calling this one of the best shows of 2023. But we will see what happens next part of the story. That really hinges on the next part of the story if they can do it justice.
One thing I really hate is having to wait each week for the next episode because it is so good. Like, after I finish one episode, I'm jonesing for the next one. I really am. And that's probably about the hardest thing about watching the show, is having to wait a full week for the next episode.
Yeah, I like shows that way where you can't wait for the next episode. There's only been a few here lately that has done that to me, and this has been one of them. We really appreciate you checking us out, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you on the flip side.
Next week.
Peace out.